Hi everybody, this video is going to go over the passages that'll be on your upcoming checkpoint. The skills that we're going to be focusing on are drawing conclusions and supporting details, and these passages are taken from an article titled Special Siblings. Here's passage 1. I grew up thinking I should never complain, never do anything bad, never cause my parents a minute's worry because they had so much to concern them as it was. A child needs to be naughty sometimes. A child needs to stamp her feet and yell and scream. A child needs to say, "Hey, I'm here and you're not paying attention to me and I'm mad." A child needs to be able to punch her brother sometimes. Other kids get mad at their siblings, yell at them, hit them once in a while. I would never have dreamed of hitting Jackie. What kind of person would hit someone with mental retardation? I suppressed all my anger until it was buried so deep I could not express it unless driven to the wall. Then I would explode, crying and yelling, usually because of some minor incident that didn't warrant such a violent reaction. Passage 2. Anger. There are many reasons why we siblings of people with disabilities get angry and often suppress it. One major reason for resentment among siblings of those with disabilities is an early collision with the fact that life is unfair. We all find that out sooner or later, but it's sad when you have to learn that lesson so young. The whole situation is profoundly unfair, says psychologist Helen Featherstone in her book A Difference in the Family. It is unfair that one family must live with disabilities while others do not. It is unfair that some children must function as adjunct parents, even before they go to school, while others successfully avoid responsibilities of all sorts well into their second decade. The brothers and sisters of the handicapped child learn to cope with this unfairness and with their own response to it, the sorrow and the anger. Many of us siblings knock ourselves out trying to please our parents, but sometimes it seems the harder you try, the less appreciation you get for your accomplishments. That can make you very angry, but you feel like a spoiled brat if you say, "Hey, I did something really good here. How about a little appreciation? The kind you give my brother for tying his shoes?" A hottie now in her 20s expresses the yearning of all of us when she says, "I would come in and be so excited about an A on my test. I worked so hard and I studied for days, and I wrote this paper." The teacher loved it, and my parents would say, "Oh, that's great." But my sister would come in with a B or C, and my parents said, "Wow, that's wonderful. Let's take her out for dinner." Sometimes I felt that what I was doing was kind of overlooked. That can be upsetting. It can make you angry. It can make you just want to scream and yell. Passage 3. Guilt. I remember teasing my brother when we were children because he couldn't do things as quickly as I could. When I think about that today, I cringe at my cruelty. I suppose I wasn't really that different from other big sisters who tease their little brothers in normal families, but the realization that I was taking advantage of someone vulnerable and helpless doesn't do much for my self-esteem. Even the youngest children know this. Richard feels guilty about tricks he used to play on his brother who is deaf. "I used to trick my brother into thinking that I could see through the wall and he couldn't," he says, and It Isn't Fair. He honestly believed that, and now I feel kind of guilty for having done that kind of stuff. I took advantage of him, and I really should not have. Psychologist Milton Seligman tells us in Ordinary Families, Special Children, in instances where a sibling's guilt is unbearable, that child can become isolated from his or her own feelings. Guilt over such emotions as anger, hostility, resentment, and jealousy may be so excessive that the sibling's true feelings fail to surface. Such a situation might occur or may occur in families where negative thoughts about a handicapped sibling are prohibited or punished. Anger may seemingly be unattached to a handicapped brother or sister, but hostile feelings may be deflected onto others, such as parents, school officials, or other persons. There are all kinds of guilt that we siblings of people with disabilities torture ourselves with. My own particular brand of guilt comes from running away from my brother, pretending he didn't exist, blotting him out of my mind, or trying to. I'm lucky. I have the chance to include him in my life now. Passage 4, Embarrassment. I was especially plagued by embarrassment when I was a child and teenager. I blushed easily, so I felt the whole world knew that I was embarrassed and was laughing at me. I was embarrassed when I went shopping with my mother and Jack, and people stared at him. It wasn't just that they stared, it was the expression of fear on their faces. They pulled their children away from him as if Jackie could hurt them in some way. I wanted to shout at them. My brother would never hurt anybody. You don't have to be afraid of him. You're really stupid to look at him like that. But of course, I didn't. It's especially embarrassing when a sibling does something out of the ordinary in public. Behavior that doesn't bother you at home is humiliating in public. If your brother or sister approaches someone just wanting to be friendly, but the stranger backs away in fear, you are angry at the stranger and angry at the sibling for embarrassing you. If your sibling is afflicted with Tourette syndrome and lets loose a stream of curses at the bus driver, it makes you angry that you have to deal with the embarrassment of the situation. You aren't really old enough to know that people don't think less of you. They're just reacting to the strange behavior of your brother or sister. Some siblings hang tough when the world attacks their brothers and sisters. Gwen was sometimes a little embarrassed when her brother acted out in public, but for the most part, she says, I had an us against them mentality. My attitude was, see world, this is what some people have to deal with. One time when I was 6 years old, I was out with my mom and Simon when he behaved inappropriately. Everyone was staring at him. I turned to him and said in a loud voice, Simon, don't stare at all the normal people. I was a fierce child. Passage 5, Conclusion. Little children don't even have a name for their resentment of a sibling with a disability. They just know they are mad at their parents and mad at the sibling with special needs, and mad at life in general because things seem so unfair. It's a hard feeling to deal with because it makes you feel miserable and you don't know where to turn for help. That's why sibling support groups are excellent outlets for all of these emotions. Children hear others their own age expressing feelings they cannot tell their parents about, and it's a great relief. All right, those are going to be the passages on your upcoming checkpoint. Be sure to look over the passages. You can access this video again, or the passages are posted in Buzz. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to your teacher. Thanks for watching.